embarrassing yourself and your family. You're embarrassing yourself. You are embarrassing yourself.
That's T.I. putting his own son in a headlock on camera during an NFL game, broadcast live for the world to see. But hold up, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The beef he sparked with 50 Cent got so messy, so personal, that what Tip did next left the entire culture speechless. This was the smoke that shook the rap world to its core. Look, the rap game is straight up burning right now, and nobody saw this coming. What started as a versus call-out between two undeniable legends turned into one of the nastiest, most disrespectful beefs hip-hop has seen in years. Moms got dragged, wives got posted, sons thrown into the crossfire, legacies torched in group chats. And just when everybody thought these two were riding this drama to the grave, T.I. did the one thing nobody expected. He reached out, apologized. But nah, we ain't getting there yet, because the road to that apology, it's paved with diss tracks, deleted posts, family warfare, and violations so wild, even the battle-tested vets in this game would cringe. And if you think the 50 Cent chapter is the end of this saga, stay locked in, because there's a whole other explosive moment with T.I.'s own son, King Harris, going hands-on on camera in a way the internet still can't stop replaying. The roots of this smoke, way back in the early 2000s, when Tip and Fifth were running laps on opposite sides of the map. T.I. repping Bankhead out of Atlanta, 50 Cent repping South Jamaica from Queens, both carrying street credibility that wasn't cooked up in a studio. For years, it seemed like mutual respect on the surface. They'd cross paths at award shows, festivals, and industry events, no real static. But underneath it all, tension was bubbling like a pot with the lid on too tightly. That's what happens when two alphas share the same jungle, both convinced they're the king. Neither was built to play the background. In an industry where rank is measured daily by sales, features, and cultural pull, the question of who outranked whom hovered like a storm cloud ready to crack. Fast forward to the Versus era, when the culture was fiending for legendary matchups. T.I. claims that during a TV promo run in Los Angeles, he and 50 Cent shook on a private agreement. The deal was simple. T.I. would throw the public challenge, 50 would step up, and fans would finally get the showdown they'd been starving for. Two catalogs loaded with nothing but hits, going track for track on a stage built for exactly that. But when the moment came for 50 to honor the word, according to T.I., silence. No acceptance, no acknowledgement, just crickets. And in this game, when the man you expected to stand 10 toes beside you ghosts, that ain't just a disappointment, that's a straight-up violation of the code. By February 6th and 7th, 2026, T.I. had enough. He rolled up on the Nightcap podcast with Shannon Sharp, and what came out wasn't a hint, it was a full-blown call-out, packed with the kind of energy that told you he'd been holding on to this frustration for a minute. And when you hear it in his voice, you feel exactly where his head was at.
50, that's what I said. He don't want no smoke, though. Oh, Lord. I called my man out. He don't want no smoke. He ducking smoke. It's cool.
He ducking smoke? That's cool. That clip hit every timeline in hours. Tip wasn't lurking in the shadows. He went on a nationally watched podcast, telling the whole world that Curtis Jackson was ducking the fade. And if you know anything about 50 Cent, you already know public disrespect like that doesn't sit. It gets answered. Almost immediately, 50 clapped back on the gram, posting clips from T.I.'s old court appearances and dropping a PSA-style meme basically saying, forget verses, let's do the stay away challenge and just keep our distance. He threw a lol on top because that's 50's whole playbook. Turn your opponent into a joke before the first bar even drops. But T.I., not even a little amused. By February 11th, 50 turned the heat all the way up, calling T.I. King Rat on Instagram and dragging up the snitching allegations that have followed Tip since his 2007 federal firearms plea deal. In hip-hop, catching that label, way worse than being called washed. That stain doesn't come off, no matter how many platinum plaques you got on the wall. T.I. came back swinging, with a message leaving zero room for debate, declaring only one of them was really a rat and that he had the paperwork to prove it, telling 50 to lace up or keep his mouth closed and live scared. The social media back and forth was entertaining, but everybody knew the real fire was going to drop on wax, and Tip delivered. On February 22nd, he sat down on $1 million worth of game and laid out the entire betrayal, how they had the conversation, how they agreed to the battle, and how once T.I. went public, 50 acted like it never happened. In Tip's eyes, that wasn't cowardice, it was a character flaw. Then, the very next day, February 23rd, T.I. dropped the first diss track, a snippet called War, making his intentions loud and clear. But he wasn't done cooking. Same day, he unleashed the full package, the right one, a track that went places most discords wouldn't dare touch. Those bars hit like a battering ram. T.I. wasn't just testing 50's toughness, he was dismantling the persona that made Curtis Jackson a household name. The track went even further, painting 50 as nothing but a meme page admin and a troll hiding behind a phone. And in its most controversial bar, T.I. went after 50's late mother, a line even the savviest beef veterans don't cross. The internet is split down the middle. Half praised Tip for going bar for bar with one of rap's most dangerous verbal assassins. The other half condemned him for dragging a deceased parent into the fight. But if T.I.'s bars were the earthquake, 50's next move was the aftershock that made this whole situation thermonuclear. 50 posted an unflattering photo of T.I.'s wife, Tiny, on the gram, captioning it with a warning to keep his name out of their mouths. One post, that's all it took to drag an innocent woman into the war zone, breaking the unwritten rule, spouses and families stay off limits. The stakes went from rap rivalry to deeply personal, and that's when King Harris, T.I. and Tiny's son, jumped in the ring with a fury nobody saw coming. Know how y'all are raised? King wasn't raised like that. He wasn't holding anything back. On Instagram Live, voice shaking with raw emotion, he made it crystal clear. Coming at his mama, that boundary would not be crossed without consequences. And then, he took it somewhere nobody saw coming.
His mama dig her up and post a picture that looked better than my mom.
That response detonated across the internet. A young boy telling a billionaire mogul to go dig up his deceased mother for a side-by-side comparison? Vicious, unfiltered, the kind of moment that makes you realize this beef left the rap arena and entered a space where real hurt lives. And King? He wasn't backing down. He came back even harder, doubling down with a ferocity that proved this wasn't clout chasing. This was a son protecting the woman who brought him into this world. I want to say something about my mama. Your mama go dig her up. You could hear the pain bleeding through the anger. This wasn't some rapper testing punchlines. This was a son riding for the woman who raised him, whatever the cost. Post a picture of your mama and she pay respect. Stop playing with my mama. 50 responded the only way he knows how, with memes. He threw up an image comparing King to Pepe the Frog and called the whole family ugly, turning a deeply emotional moment into internet comedy. Even Tina Knowles, Beyoncé's mama, stepped in publicly to defend Tiny, widening the circle and adding a cultural weight far beyond rap. The internet was holding its breath, wondering if this was about to jump from keyboards to real life. The tension was thick enough to choke on. Then came the retreat and the twist. By February 24th, 50 was playing boss-level flex while his opponent was still throwing punches into the void. He hopped on social media to announce he had just sold out a Broadway production of Joe Turner's Come and Gone, posting it with a shocked face emoji like, "While you're in the booth recording disses nobody asked for, I'm moving units on stages you can't even get a ticket to." That's ultimate disrespect, the kind of flex that doesn't need a single bar because it rewrites the narrative. Think about what that does to a man's psyche. T.I. had poured every ounce of lyrical venom into 2 diss tracks, one of which crossed the sacred line of going after a dead mother. And 50's reply? Not a counter record, a Broadway receipt. That's the kind of move that shifts the battlefield. Suddenly, it isn't about who spits better bars, it's about who holds relevance in 2026, a question T.I. might not want the world answering aloud. King Harris jumped in on his pop's behalf, putting the internet on notice about 50's long history of beefing with Lil' Kim, outselling Kanye and everybody else, painting him as a career antagonist who sparks smoke for entertainment, not principle, a man who turns his platform into a weapon against whoever catches his attention that week. Then came February 25th, 2026, the day the script flipped. No warning, no caption, no explanation. 50 Cent wiped every single T.I.-related post off Instagram. Every meme, every troll, every clapback, erased, scrubbed clean like the beef never existed. The internet went full CSI. Was 50 waving the white flag, reloading for something bigger? Did Loya step in? Or was something happening behind closed doors that the public didn't see? Let's be real, 50 Cent does not fall back. This is the same man who went to war with Ja Rule, Rick Ross, Floyd Mayweather, and smiled through every round. His brand is built on relentless escalation, not quiet retreat. For him to erase receipts on a beef he was fully engaged in hours earlier, that alone was one of the most shocking moves in modern rap warfare. Here's where the story takes the turn that brought you to this video. Sources tapped into both camps say T.I. made a move nobody had on their bingo card. After days of trading savage verbal attacks, diss tracks aimed at mothers, wives, and kids, memes turning grown men into punchlines, T.I. reportedly hit 50 Cent's camp directly, not through the gram, not through press intermediaries, straight communication, phone to phone. And the tone, according to those in the know, was a completely different energy from the man who'd been barking about war and smoke for weeks on end. The word that keeps coming up in every account of that exchange? Apology. Hold up, not some groveling, on-your-knees, street-burying kind of apology. Nah, this was a calculated, grown man acknowledgement that things had gone way too far. Lines got crossed on both sides, dragging mothers, living and dead, into a feud between two men with decades of legacy. That was beneath everything they'd built. T.I. had already made his stance on respect loud and clear throughout the beef, telling the world straight up he didn't respect 50 anymore and didn't want to share a stage with him. But there's a difference between losing respect for someone's actions and wanting a war that swallows everything in its path.
And T.I., a man who's navigated federal cases, survived prison bids, and resurrected his career more than once, apparently realized this particular fire was about to burn way more than just 50's rep. It was going to consume King. It was going to consume Tiny. It was going to torch every family member and associate caught in the blast zone. For a man whose whole identity is built on protecting his circle, the math had to change. The timing of the 50's mass post-deletion lines up perfectly with this account. If you're 50 and the man who's been sending shots for 3 weeks straight suddenly extends an olive branch, you don't respond with another meme. You clear the field. You wipe the evidence. You make room for whatever comes next. Peace, a business play, or just the absence of active warfare. The fact that neither side has fired a single shot since February 25th says it all. In a beef where both were posting multiple times daily, the sudden silence is deafening. Now, skeptics will be quick to point out T.I.'s swan song album, Kill the King, is right around the corner, and this whole saga, from the first Versus call-out to the diss tracks, memes, and scrubbed posts, could be one elaborate promo campaign to drop Tip back into the conversation at maximum eyeballs. Fans already peeped the timing, noting that the second T.I. announces his final album, a beef with 50 Cent materializes out of thin air like a magic trick. And real talk, that theory has legs. The music industry has a long history of manufactured conflicts that juice album sales. T.I. is smart and seasoned enough to know exactly how the machine works. Every headline, every trending topic, every heated comment debate is free promo for a project that hasn't even dropped yet. But whether that apology was genuine or strategic, it happened, and it represents something the culture rarely sees. A man winning a public battle, choosing to step back from the edge instead of pushing the whole thing off a cliff. The Blackwall.Street Times reported the feud had turned deeply personal by February 25th, and personal beefs in hip-hop have a nasty habit of ending in tragedy, not resolution. T.I. choosing to extend communication instead of escalating the conflict might be the smartest move of the entire saga, because it takes way more heart to de-escalate than it does to keep shooting. But the 50 Cent beef isn't the only time T.I. found himself in a confrontation that got physical, went ugly, and went public. 2 years before the Versus drama, before the diss tracks, memes, and scrubbed posts, there was a moment caught on camera that showed a completely different side of this man's life. A moment that had nothing to do with rival rappers and everything to do with the hardest relationship any man can face, the one with his own son. What went down at that Atlanta Falcons game on November 26, 2023 still hits because it taps into something universal, something that transcends hip-hop, fame, and money, cutting straight to the bone of what it means to be a father raising a young man desperate to prove he's already grown. It was supposed to be a chill family outing, Falcons versus Saints. T.I. had even been on socials earlier that day, showing love to his kids, hyping up the game, doing the classic dad at the stadium flex. Everything looked cool. Everything looked like any other Sunday in the A, with a famous family posted up in a luxury suite at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then King Harris went live on IG from inside that suite. What the world saw was a father-son argument that escalated from words to hands in seconds. The camera wasn't supposed to catch this, or maybe it was, because King chose to broadcast the moment that would define how the public sees his relationship with his pops. And once that red light came on, there was no taking it back.
Have you ever woke up with a roach on your face?
No, that's not the goal.
All right, then. So, man, go. In your ear.
Tip was making a point that hit straight at the generational gap between a self-made man and the kids who grew up on his dime. On camera, in front of everyone watching that live stream, he asked his son if King had ever felt the kind of struggle and poverty that forged T.I. into the man he is today. The roach question wasn't random. It was a test, a direct challenge to King's tough talk, a reminder that the streets Tip survived would chew his son up and spit him out without blinking. Tip was calling out the whole performative flex of claiming hood cred without ever actually living it. He was schooling his own blood, saying that wanting to step in the trenches for clout versus actually surviving them are two totally different realities, and one doesn't automatically give you the right to claim the other. You feel me? Do y'all want us to back him up, make him look better? The message was crystal clear. In his father's eyes, King's whole tough guy act was just costume play. And for a young man starving to be seen as his own individual, separate from the shadow of a famous father, hearing that critique live on camera was the spark that lit this whole fire. The king who refused to kneel. What went down next in that Falcons game suite is the kind of moment that shows you exactly how family dynamics work in the social media era. Every private argument just one tap away from the public. King Harris didn't flinch at his father's challenge. He didn't swallow the critique quietly like a kid raised under the spotlight is supposed to. Nah, he pushed back with full energy, letting everybody watching know this ain't the first time these two clashed over the same core question. Is King Harris really his own man, or just living in a fortress built by his father's money? The silver spoon talk, the Nepo baby label, the implication that everything King has was handed to him, not earned. Those are the kinds of cuts that hit deeper than any diss track, because they come from the one person whose approval matters more than anyone else on the planet.
I know you.
Ain't no mystery about him.
I know you though. I know you know.
You can feel the tension ripping through King's voice. He ain't laying out a logical argument. He's looping the same phrases because his emotions are running faster than his mouth can keep up. He knows his father. He knows the man in front of him has walked through fires King hasn't even seen. But he knows himself too, or at least he believes he does. And having his own pops publicly dismantle his identity hits harder than anything he's ready for in that moment. The stuttering, the overlapping words, the struggle to form a clean rebuttal. Don't get it twisted, that ain't weakness. That's what happens when the person you love most tells you straight up that you're not who you thought you were. What's wrong with y'all? Why y'all doing that to me? Y'all know me. You know I stand on business. That line, I stand on business, became the anthem of the whole situation. It's King's declaration of self, his way of showing the world and his father that he ain't soft, he ain't privileged, he ain't some product of comfort pretending to be hard. Every young man hits that moment where he's got to look his father dead in the eye and say, I'm my own person. King was doing exactly that, just with the entire internet watching and screenshots flying in real time. Things escalated when a shove turned the argument physical. T locked his son in a headlock, a move that mixed fatherly instinct with raw aggression. That's the grip a man applies when words no longer work and physical authority becomes the only language left. You are embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing yourself. You are embarrassing yourself. That was T's breaking point. 6 seconds of raw footage millions would eventually replay on loop. He wasn't trying to hurt his son, he was trying to contain him, to stop King from doing or saying something that would make things worse. But the optics were brutal.
A Grammy-winning rapper, a man who survived the federal system, was grappling with his own child in a luxury NFL suite while cameras rolled. Teeny stepped in, separating father and son before it could spiral further. And for a brief moment, that suite fell into the kind of heavy silence that only follows an explosion. Right after, King hit Instagram stories with posts dripping defiance and pain, questioning whether his family saw him as a mistake. Those posts got deleted fast, but the internet had already screenshotted and spread them across gossip sites and hip-hop forums. Tip's public response was measured, telling the world to mind its business, making it clear this was a family matter and outside opinions didn't matter. And this wasn't the first time either. Reports point to a previous incident at a Waffle House in 2022, showing a pattern between father and son, a cycle of tension that keeps spinning because the core issue, King's hunger for independence versus T's need for control, never got fully solved in a single conversation. He is capping. He knows I stand on business. He knows that. Can't ever pull my card ever in life. Even after getting locked up by his own father on camera in front of the world, King was still going, still proving that his toughness is real, still pushing back against any narrative painting him as anything less than authentic.
I stand on business. You drop me somewhere, I stand on business. You drop me in your hood, I stand on business. That repetition, that refusal to budge even a fraction of an inch in front of his own pops, that tells you everything about King's mindset. He wasn't just arguing over toughness, he was fighting for his identity, for the right to define himself on his own terms, instead of living in a blueprint drawn by a man who survived conditions King can't fully grasp. That tension, the constant push and pull between a father who clawed his way out of the mud and a son born above it, is one of the rawest, most universal dynamics in any family, no matter how much cash is in the bank. Within days, the energy began shifting toward reconciliation. T.I. publicly clarified his love for King, posting that they were tied together like a knot and that he'd ride to the heavens or descend into the depths for his family. He even highlighted King's music, specifically a track called Father Like Sons with his brother Damani, showing the world that despite the public blow-up, their bond was cracked but not broken. By 2025, King reflected publicly, calling himself the man his father raised him to be, adding that they were finally seeing eye to eye, proof that the Falcons game suite incident, ugly as it was, might have been a turning point rather than a point of no return. If you enjoyed this video, click on any of the cards on your screen.